movies and television shows give us a certain image of the mob. Wise guys with street smarts and the ugly truth that crime does pay. But the real image of a modern mafia leader is something few people ever really see. Vito Rizzuto has been called Montreal's Don, the head of a made-in-Canada mob. Tonight, the CBC's Lynn Robson takes us inside the Rizzuto organization, sophisticated and sinister, and for a while, working on the deal of a lifetime to launder mob money.
Montreal, 2004. On a cold January night, Vito Rizzuto arrested for murder. By then, Montreal police knew Rizzuto was one of North America's biggest suppliers of heroin, cocaine, and hash. They knew he was a millionaire many times over, that his biggest problem was how to launder all his drug dollars. What the police didn't know that night, what no one in Canada knew then, was that Vito Rizzuto was on the verge of pulling off what might have been the biggest money laundering scheme ever. This is where Rizzuto's multi-million-dollar scheme was to unfold. The Strait of Messina, a 3-kilometer stretch that separates the Italian mainland from Sicily. Sicily, where Rizzuto grew up. Sicily, the heartland of the Italian mafia. Here at Messina, the Italian government planned to build a bridge. They saw it as the construction project of the century. The Rizzutos saw it as the opportunity of a lifetime.
Rizzuto had an idea.
Antonio Nicasso is a mafia expert writing a book about the Rizzutos. He says the bridge project brought Vito Rizzuto's entire life experience as a criminal into focus.
So he put together a team, a group of people with money. So he was ready to invest in this project €5 billion.
The government was deep into bridge design and negotiating contracts with private investors, including a Milan-based company. They were completely unaware it was a front for an international consortium organized by Vito Rizzuto.
Practically criminals through front men would have become a partner with a government.
The money laundering plan was simple. In exchange for financing construction of a bridge, Rizzuto and his criminal consortium would get back all the tolls and fees paid by people who used it. Their investment of about $7 billion worth of dirty drug money guaranteed them a 30-year return of laundered money and good profit. The Italians call that una buona affare, or a good deal.
But the good deal went sour when Italian police pieced the Rizzuto's plan together. By then, Vito was in the U.S. accused of murder.
Nell'inchiesta sono coinvolti esponenti di spicco del clan mafioso Rizzuto.
But the Italian public was hearing the name Rizzuto for the first time, and they were told he was no ordinary mob gang leader.
Il boss italo-canadese appartenente al clan dei Cuntrera Caruana.
In a country all too familiar with mafia crime, prosecutor Italo Armani describes Vito Rizzuto as a new and dangerous kind of mafia boss.
Was a person, and only a person, with the two possibilities, money and authority. And this person was Rizzuto, and the clan of Rizzuto.
This is the home of the Rizzuto clan. The new-style mafia bosses come from some old and humble roots in southern Sicily. This is Cattolica Araclia.
Vito.
Vito was born here?
Vito was born here.
Ah. People here still remember the Rizzutos as good neighbors.
Questa era la casa, no?
They lived here beside my house, she says, and my son and Vito played together as children. And in Cattolica, the old people knew Vito's father, Nick, as a young man who wasn't always a mobster.
Nick was a farmer, and he married into the mob. As soon as he married Libertina Manno, the daughter of the local mafia boss, he became a campiere, a guardian for landlord, practically a very important position in the economy of Cattolica Reclea.
Scusate con Rizzuto Vito, ma può essere?
Sì, questa qua.
Questa?
Tracing the Rizzuto family line is easy. The town hall has every birth, death and marriage documented in enormous books. Plus, everyone in Cattolica knows the name Rizzuto.
La famiglia di Rizzuto è una famiglia che porta con sé anche la storia di questo paese, perché questa è una storia legata al fenomeno della immigrazione. Agli inizi del secolo, numerose famiglie partirono per l'America in cerca di fortuna.
But the Rizzutos were already somebodies in Cattolica. They were men of honor, as the mafia called themselves, men who controlled who got jobs, who got elected, even who got killed. The head of the local mafia was Antonino Manno, Nick's father-in-law. He ruled with an iron hand, but he taught Nick to favor mediation over violence.
He learned that you can live well if you try to share with others instead to accumulate it and become a greedy person. I think that's the most important lesson that this time provides to Nick Rizzuto. The importance of sharing the power, sharing the wealth.
Life lessons Nick and Vito would use in the new world. In 1954, the Rizzutos, like millions of other Italians, left Italy. Most of them were looking for a better life. Nick had other plans.
He moved to Canada because he had a dream to put together a criminal empire.
Montreal in the 50s and 60s was a good place for an ambitious criminal. There were clubs, prostitution, gambling, and a new growth industry, illegal drugs. Nick Rizzuto got into the business early and taught his son the drug trade. And this, the Port of Montreal, was the key to illegal drug shipments in Montreal.
This was the main entrance point for the narcotics that came in the containers.
Andre Bouchard knows the port well. He spent 3 decades as a cop with a special interest in criminal gangs and drugs. And during all those years, he says, there was one constant. The mafia was best at getting the drugs into Canada.
The only people who had the connections in those early years were the Italians. And I mean, even up to 1990, 1995, it was the same thing. I mean, if you wanted a couple of 100 tons of cocaine, nobody could get that. You'd have to go through the Italians.
But not all the men of the mafia